morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandra, and you know what, you guys, we're talking about wrapping things up for 2025, and I want to finally do a video that I don't think I've ever done before on my channel, and that is talking about my Franklin planner system. So my plan for the next couple of weeks is to talk about all of my planners, and we're reviewing goals and reviewing the systems, and then we're doing new setups for 2026. So it's kind of an exciting time of year. I'm also doing Vlogmas and Planmas right now. So things are going to be crazy for me and for the next little while, for all of December. And I thought that this video would be a good one. So a while ago, I think this was a couple of months ago, I had some people ask if I could do a video on systems, the systems that I use. So I was going to do this whole formal thing, like systems that I use to stay focused, or systems that I use in my business to, like, get ahead and be successful. And then I thought, you know what, why am I making things so complicated? I should sit down, have my planner in front of me, and talk about the systems I use in my Franklin planner. So the reason why I can do this is because I use my Franklin planner, like, I don't switch back and forth. I do have other planners that I'm going to be talking about, but they're going to be separate videos. So I have three main planners, not including my goal planner and my budget planner. So those are like additional add-ons that help me with everything else. But three main planners: my Franklin planner system. I always use a classic size, which ends up being half letter. I've also got my business planner set up, and that's going to, we'll do a review of the system I used for 2025 like this one, but I do have a new system coming for 2026. And then my Planner Perfect system as well. And we'll talk about that. And it's going to be interesting kind of to see how I talk about them and how I integrate them all together. Each of them has, there is a little bit of overlap, but each of them does serve a different purpose. And I'll talk about that in each of the videos. All right, so here is my Franklin Classic binder. Currently, at the time of filming, this is November, so I'm still in my Torino binder. This is what I've been using for the last 2 Novembers, but we're going to open it up and we're going to talk about the things that I use and the systems I use for my planner, not to necessarily be successful, but just to have my planner and to be using my planner. So I guess, in other words, I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this because, like I was saying earlier, I have been in this planner for a long time, like not this binder. Obviously, I switch my binder out monthly to keep things interesting for myself. I also switch out the decor monthly. So I guess if that's one of the first things that we can talk about in regards to my system, is that I do find a lot of people tend to get bored with their system, and then they're always constantly searching for planner piece. And that word, I'm sorry, you guys, but that word bothers me so much. They're looking for planner piece because they're never satisfied with what they have. It's not like all of us. We're always buying new things because we're never happy. You're happy. You're like, ooh, it's coming in the mail. I'm so excited. And then you get it, and then you're like, okay. And then you put it away with your stash, and then you might use it, but you might, you use it for a while, and then you tend to forget about it, and then you leave it. That's like all of us. Like, we're never happy with what we have. And I can't say that for everybody, because I do know, like binders, for instance, there are a few members of the Franklin Covey pack, if we can call us that have used one binder until it wears out, okay? I have seen this and I've heard about it. For myself, I do get bored really quickly, but I don't want to change out of my system. I like my Franklin planner system because it does help me. When I first started in my planning business and like doing what I do, I used to create a bullet journal spread every month. And let me tell you, that is time consuming, okay? So I noticed the more busy I got with the more things I added onto my business, I realized I just couldn't do it anymore. And I also couldn't create the type of spreads that I needed to track stuff for my personal life, this is like my catch-all personal life system. And my business. So that's why I separated. I have 3 different planners now. And like, I couldn't capture everything in my health that I needed to track. I couldn't capture all of my kids' stuff for school. And I didn't want to be drawing out all those spreads. And then I wanted to be able to capture everything within like ideally, if I'd had a bullet journal, everything would have fit January to December in one book. And it just didn't do that for me after. So the system wasn't serving me. So that's why we switched to Franklin. And Franklin has probably been the one system I've been in the longest. So getting back to the whole decorating and changing my theme each month, this is to prevent me from getting bored, because I do get bored really quickly. I like seeing different colors, different covers, different textures. I like seeing different themes. But while I change like all of the decor, so I'll change my charms, I'll change my bows, I'll change my rings even. Like I've got black, gold, and silver. Just as a tip though, in this Torino binder, they are this binder set up differently. So you can take the rings out, but then you end up destroying your binder. So just FYI, it's something most people don't want to do. And you can't take the rings out of this particular binder unless you cut it open. But all of the other binders, you can actually screw the rings out and then interchange them with new rings. But I even changed my pen. I changed my dashboards. So this is how I keep it interesting for myself. And that's probably number one of my planner system for my Franklin. That's number one thing that I do, is change things up regularly for myself. The next thing that I do in my system is sometimes I reevaluate, and this is usually a yearly thing because honestly I don't have time throughout the year, but I evaluate what life categories I'm currently holding. So big example there is like I'm in the life stage right now with kids. One of my beautiful followers and subscribers mentioned it as the divine feminine. And that was beautiful, by the way. If you were watching this, I think it's Kalani. I hope I pronounced it right. If you're watching this, I'm talking about what you mentioned. That was quite beautiful. So the divine feminine, I'm raising my kids. I still have, like, my oldest is 11, my youngest is 2. He's almost 3 though. And so I'm just in this age where, like, even though I'm a little bit older, I decided to have kids later in life. I'm in this age where I'm at home with my kids, providing food, for my kids and my husband, and sending them off to school and keeping the house clean. But I'm still trying to maintain a semblance of like normalcy for myself and also something for myself. So this is why I have my business, and like I need to do something that isn't just a motherhood thing, if that makes sense. Like I need to do something outside of that to keep myself realizing, hey, I matter. I can contribute to the world, not just raising kids. But I think that that's very important. Otherwise, like I myself wouldn't be doing it. I just, you have to determine the life area, like what life section are you in? Maybe you're older and you've got an aging parent that you're taking care of. Your planner is going to look a lot different than my planner, which it should, because you're in a different life stage. So once you've figured out your life stage that you're in, like for example, here's kind of an aside, like I tend to do this in these videos because I just talk, but I always imagine finding Franklin planner when I was going back to school and then using my Franklin binder to keep myself organized with my homework. I wish that I could have done that. The only thing that's good about it that I didn't is that this thing is massive, okay? It's very chunky. And if I was to take this to school with me every day, I would have such a sore back. But part of me wishes that I could have found this system when I was going to school, because I would be so organized and so ahead of the game, and my work would just be so good. And I think I used a cheap Staples agenda or something. I don't remember. But I just kind of wish I could go back. And part of me wishes I could go to school. Like right now, that's not my life stage. Like I can't go to school. I'm raising kids. And my husband's working full time. So like I'd have to wait till my kids were in school in order to do that. But I kind of think that's funny because I'm like, I want to go back to school, but just for the sake of learning, not to get a job. So then once you established your life area, like what stage of life you're in, you have to figure out your life categories. So for me, I actually have, let me find it here. I know I have it here somewhere. Here we go. I finally found it. So life categories, I keep it under I call it my admin section, but it's actually my reference section. So I think I did this when I had been doing a classic happy planner Frankenplan. So I had put like I had taken like, I don't even remember. I think I took 3 or 4 happy planners and I broke them down. Like I'd take 1 month out of each of the happy planners and I'd put it in one happy planner. So I had a section for business, for my kids' school, for personal, for health, like all of these different sections, like a reading planner. And then I think I was watching The Organized Money. So The Organized Money is a really good channel to watch too, you guys. I'll link her channel if you want to check her out. She's got a lot of good information and a lot of good videos. So my life categories, I had written this out, were home, school, personal, expense budget, health, reading, goals, and business. So those were my life categories. And then under each of those, I had like different category, like different sections. So I haven't actually evaluated this in a really long time. So I don't know if it's accurate still. But for example, for school, it's not for myself, it's for my kids. So days off and holidays, early dismissal days, appointments and meetings, homework, studying tests, and then shopping. For like, we're getting back to school in September. You need to get clothes, you need to get shoes, you need to get school supplies. For home, I've got sections for cleaning, chores, organization, projects, maintenance, and renovations. Personal, I've got all of those things there. Expense, so the expense and budget, I actually have a separate book for that. So that's why this isn't in my planner. I've also got a health section, talks about all of these different things, including mental, emotional, and physical. And then reading, so like book summaries, notes, thoughts, book lists, and books to read, and ones I've already read. And then my goals, again, I have a separate planner for this. So I do integrate a few of these things. As you guys have seen, if you've watched my plan with me's for the week and the month, I do integrate a few goal things in this planner because I like to have them on hand. And then my business. And because like I don't have Patreon anymore, so that's where it's a little outdated. But this entire list, I have a separate business planner because one time I did try incorporating like everything in one planner and it just didn't work. But when I look at this, I just realized it would make sense to have like all of my sections follow this. So for example, I have a whole goal section and I do have that in here. It's not that big of a section. Like I said, it's kind of like my reference section, but it also includes my brain dump area and it includes an inbox. So it's a little bit bigger than like I would normally keep. Like I don't necessarily need to have goals because I do have a separate goal planner. And then of course I need to have my schedule. That's probably the biggest section because this includes my monthly, weekly, and my daily. And then my home section, which would be here, right? It includes all of these different things. And then an admin section. So the admin section is technically my reference section. And right now it is the biggest section other than schedule that I have in my planner. So this is something that I need to evaluate for next year. Then the next one, where were we here? The next one was personal. So I have a personal section which has all of this stuff except groceries and meal planning and days off work. Obviously that's in my schedule, so that wouldn't necessarily be in here. And like events, appointments, technically that's not really personal, that's under schedule. So personal, I would definitely change these types of categories under the personal section because that's not accurate. And then the last one I have is projects and notes. So technically, goals, projects, and notes could all go together. And so, I mean, that is actually, I should make a note for myself because as I'm talking this through with you guys, that's actually a really good point. Important to build your planner on, like, first you establish your, like, life, what did I call it? You establish where you are in life. So your life stage, right? Figure out where you are in life. The second thing is get your life categories, write everything down. And like your categories might not look like mine. Like you might have home because everybody has like, unless you're homeless, of course, which I'm pretty sure if you're homeless, you're not going to have a planner. And I'm not trying to joke about something like that. I'm just saying like, usually, everybody will have a home section because you've got to do your cleaning and chores, your organization, you'll have home projects, maintenance, renovations. So you'll want to have a home section. And then if you don't have kids and you don't have anything to do with school, the school section won't apply to you. So just FYI, I actually used to have a tab for school in my planner, and I really liked that idea. But because the way I have my schedule set up, I've got a monthly, weekly, and daily, I just integrate all of my kids' school events on my monthly calendar, and then I add them to the week. And so I think the reason being at that time was because I wanted to add a reference section. And this is something that I'm going to be evaluating going forward. So I think, like, if this is something that you're planning on doing, I think I would also go back and rewrite this life category section. And I just wanted to also bring your attention to this. So this is actually another really good paper that kind of goes along with the life categories. So you've got life categories and you write down all of the sections like I did here, but then there's another sheet that I wrote out. And to be quite honest with you, I think I got both of these from the Organized Money. Her name was Elena. So I didn't get them from her. I just wrote them out. It was like an idea that I, just got from watching her channel. But write out a life organization system. So there's a paper system, and then you're going to have a digital system, right? So everything that's on paper, you write it down. So my goal setting, I keep in my power sheets. Budget, I have in the Budget Mom workbook. Home catch-all is my Franklin planner, and then I write down all of the things I have in there. Business, I had for this year, my Jane's Agenda Junior Half Letter Planner. My health, I used to have a bullet journal. So at one point, like over the course of my planning career and my YouTube career, I have changed my system. So this is, again, outdated and I need to redo this. And then On the Go used to be my Franklin Compact. Now it's my Planner Perfect. So then the notebooks I had a business journal, a regular journal, a common book, a manifest gratitude, and it was part of I call it my grimoire, but it was my spiritual planner. And then for digital, I use the iCal calendar. Sometimes I use the Google Calendar too, it depends. And then the Kindle books. But I don't actually use, I don't really like online books on my phone. I have a Kindle, but it is the older one where the screen doesn't light up. So I don't use my Kindle anymore. I should, because it was actually better for your eyes than reading during the day. But I usually will use my phone. But my favorite method of reading is still like a paper bound book, like whether it's hardcover or softcover. I still prefer an actual book in my hands. So anyway, so this is a task I'm going to set for myself, and I'm going to redo my life categories and my life organization system. But if this is something that you guys are thinking of doing, I would recommend writing these categories out like this. As you can see, like mine is a little bit outdated, and then I also don't keep all of my sections quite the same as what I've written down. So I do have a little bit of work to do myself. And this is kind of the point of this. So this is like my current system. And then when I do set up my system for 2026, I'm going to tell you guys how I've changed it. And so leading into that whole thing, I think that's actually a really important thing to keep in your planner, usually at all times, because then you can kind of evaluate and use that as a reference to see what you want to plan for and what you want to do in your planner. So that kind of leads you into deciding what tabs you want for your planner. So in my case, like I think I use I always have 1.5 inch rings in my binder. And I know some people who use Franklin Planner try to look for 2-inch rings, and those would probably be so much more useful for me. But number one, they make your binder heavier and bigger. And number two, you have to find a binder that will actually incorporate like 2-inch rings. So most Franklin binders are made for 1.5 to 1.25. This one was made like this, so 1.5 was the way it was made. But most of the binders, so for example, all of the vintage Auroras come with 1.5 inch. All of the Annas come with 1.25 inch. And I always take out the 1.5 inch rings or order new ones and put them into, like I switch them out because 1.25 inch are just too small for me. But sometimes when you have like a snap closure binder, sometimes it stretches the snap or the the closure or it stretches the binder. So you just have to be careful with that. So my binder is already quite full, and tabs take up valuable real estate in your planner. So you have to be careful with how many you use. I know if you have a disc bound planner, it's sometimes, I want to say sometimes it's easier, but not really. It's the same kind of thing. You have to determine how thick your planner is, and then you have to get rings or discs sized on how thick your planner is. So in my business planner, I have 2-inch discs, okay? And that's a lot. Like, I shouldn't need that for a business planner, but I have that. And it's full. It's like completely full. So you just kind of have to determine what you need and how big you want your binder to be. So sometimes people will have like all of your tabs, and then they want to keep all of their months in their schedule. So I only keep 1 month at a time, and that's probably another, and that's basically to keep the size of my planner down. That's another system that I use. Currently in my planner, I have 6 side tabs, and then I have 4 top tabs. So I used to actually have more side tabs. I actually had double this amount. I had 12 in here, and then I also had 4 on the bottom. And so because my binder was just like jam-packed, I took out all of those tabs. I think I had different sections. I had a reading section. I had a note section at the bottom. I had so many. I had a school section. And I think before I decided to do this reference section that takes up such a big chunk, I could afford, like, that's a lot of room. It's almost like, I'd say it's almost 3/4 of an inch thick, this whole section. And so I had enough room to add all of those other dividers in here. And I mean, that's still an idea that I could have. I mean, I could very well put school back in here. And I liked having it, but I did find that I was getting kind of lazy and I wouldn't check it every week. Like, I didn't develop the habit to do that. And if it's something that you have in your planner, like, that's a number one thing that I would suggest. Like, if you are kind of doing a review of your system and seeing what you use and what you don't, that's number one thing I would check for. If there's a section that you don't access regularly, maybe it needs to come out and you can kind of integrate it somehow, like I did with my kids' school stuff. So that's just an idea. So I guess now going through each of the sections, I think I've talked about the majority of it. So my goal section, again, this is just kind of like an overview, really. Oh, I actually realized I had this annual goal sheet in here. I'm going to be using this for next year. Didn't realize I had that in there. So like I said, I have a goal planner that's strictly for goal planning, and I don't carry it with me because it wouldn't make any sense. So I reference it every day. So when I do Plan Miss, you guys are going to see that I literally check it every day. Because I check off the things that I've done. And then I use it to establish what kind of activities and tasks I want to put in my planner for the day or the week. And so some of the goals that I've deemed necessary and important, I put here for myself as a way to reference my goals when I don't have access to my goal planner. So if I'm out, or like even if I'm just home and I'm like, yeah, I'm too lazy to take out my goal planner, here's my goals. So I've also done like quarterly reviews. That's why I like these inserts. These are from Jane's Agenda. You can get a set from Cloth and Paper as well that are similar. Jane's Agenda are horizontal, Cloth and Paper are vertical. The only thing is they don't offer like unpunched versions. They have disc punched only. So what I do is exactly what I did here. I washi tape over the disc punch and then punch it for the system that you have. And so I still get half letter, but I just get the disc punch and it works. You can even reinforce it with reinforcers after you've punched it and then cover it in washi tape and then punch it again. And it's perfect. Okay, so I do keep this in here. And then I also still, I do use the activities and values from Franklin Covey and the roles. And so I think I had a comment once. I can't remember who it was, but somebody commented like, this is the same that you've always used. I feel like my section is missing. No, roles and values. Okay. So these are the sections that I use to develop my like compass card. So right here are the things that are important to me from week to week. This is generally like an ongoing, like kind of like a progressive task list, but not really. I'll come here and I'll look like what is my main role, like under parent, wife, daughter, CEO, and artist. What can I do under these that's going to move my needle forward for this week? And so that's generally what I do. But I don't call, like, I'll call artist, what do I call it? I call it like creative. So artist, creative is kind of the same thing. But I'll have these sections in my planner. So say, for example, I've got a birthday party, I'll have a parent role and I'll put it on that week. And then I write down the clarifying, like what task do I need to do this week to complete it, to make sure that I've been taking care of my role and my goal as, making my family happy or whatever. So I keep that in here as a reference. And so generally, you know what, I don't change this every year. I kind of made a habit of it in the past. I have my mission statement here. So I'll probably keep that the same this year. I don't think I need to change it because, again, I would evaluate that and make a new section for yourself. Like write this out again if your life has changed dramatically. So, for example, if all of your kids have just left the nest this year and you need a fresh start, I would redo this because now your values and your goals have changed because you don't have kids living at home. Or if you have a family member that passed away, you've been taking care of them this whole time, you know what? Your life has changed. Everything has changed now, and it's time to renew and refresh because you're in a different life space now. So, moving forward, I also have a brain dump section. I don't think I've updated this since May, you guys. Yep. Like, look at this. I was supposed to book the dentist. This is ironic. I was supposed to book the dentist after June 23rd. It is now November 20. Oh, is it the 23rd? No, it's the 24th today. We're going to the dentist today. Like, this is how long I've procrastinated it. And it's not just because I'm lazy and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it because I hate going to the dentist, okay? I dread it. But there's some things in here that are no longer relevant. So I have to go through that. So I'm also going to check that off and go through. For me, I've also realized, like, again, going through talking about the changes and like, thinking about things in your head, like, what do I need to change for this year? What's changed? So I've realized I do need a brain dump, but I have actually been playing around with the bullet journal. I'm not going to use that as one of my systems because it's just like a play thing right now. A play thing. It's just an experiment right now. I'm just having fun with it. And it was an extra book for me to, waste more time, apparently. But also to keep myself organized for my videos this year. So I kind of made up a bullet journal and I have a brain dump in there, which I haven't used yet. But I do have a brain dump in my TN, my traveler's notebook, which is my third system I'll talk about in the next few days. And I'll show you that brain dump. It changes from month to month, like from each planner. But I'll see if I can review my November system just to kind of keep all of these the same. And my brain dump in there is a continuous one. So like I just kind of keep it like this. And then as things get crossed off, I cross them off and then I continue writing lines. So, I mean, this is good to have in this planner or that planner. It depends where I'm sitting. And then I'll always have it. Like I open these planners every day, so it doesn't really matter where I put it. Another place, I have this like little overview thing. This is a place where I can come. Actually, and I find myself, I don't do this often, but for example, I've got this sticky note now that I don't want to lose. So if I want to keep it and I don't want to lose it, all I do is I peel it off and I put this on the back of this because this is a plastic dashboard. And so I can keep it in here now if it sticks. And it's safe in my planner. It doesn't want to stick, but that's kind of the whole purpose of this, was to put it in my inbox because this was supposed to be my inbox. But the sticky note is proving me wrong. It's not working. But that's what I would do with that. Okay. So then, or the same thing here, the actual inbox, you just like put an important note here, just like that. And then I keep hold of it, especially when I'm traveling. I need to do that if I don't want to write it on my dailies. So That's what I use that for. But obviously I'm using it for a collection of sticky notes. This was from October. I forgot to take that off of there. And then I've got some transparent sticky notes. I like using these over the boxes and the calendars. So sometimes I'll keep those on there. Oh, perfect. This is also from October. So I'll be changing that. Okay, so this is my inbox. I also have this sheet here. This is actually quite important. It's nice to have an inbox in your planner. You don't necessarily have to have like this. So you can use both systems if you choose, or you can use either or. But what I've been doing consistently is writing in here instead of having a sticky note, because sticky notes, like Jane from Jane's Agenda keeps saying, if you have a sticky note, you can put it in your planner, but it might fall out. And then just like this one, it's not sticking properly. So I could put it in here and then I might be traveling and it'll fall into my bag or fall out in the airport or something. So it's actually just easier to write it down on one sheet of paper. And then, so these are things that aren't going to be planned on a specific day in my monthly calendar, and they're not going to be put on a weekly or a daily section. I mean, when we get to the note section, I'll show you the system there as well. But I like having this here because random things, I can just write it down. And then I always reference this. I've made a habit for myself in my planning system, which again, I'll show you when we go through, to reference it and to look at it every week. It only works if you actually look at your planner every so often. So you have to have a set routine where you're have a little reminder for yourself, like a task card. I'll show you that in a minute. That, okay, Sunday is my planning day. This is my task. These are my tasks. This is what I need to do. And one of those tasks would be referencing what's in your inbox, because you're like, okay, well, maybe this week I can complete this task. And then you put it in your weekly or your daily and you cross it off. And so that's what this is for here. Air miles, that's not going to mean anything to you guys. You don't know what I need to do, but it's a reminder for me. Okay, so moving on. Next, I have my schedule. So my schedule system is comprised of 3 main sections. I guess technically 4. So I don't have a tab for this, but it's called my future log. Okay, so in my system, my personal system, I don't put January to December. So again, that could be something that I change going forward, and that would take away the need for these papers. So I think I actually have more in here than I need, and I think I just felt bad because I had Jane's Agenda, but then I also had these ones here. And to be honest, if I wanted to reuse this, I could, because I barely used it. I would just have to re-letter the days and then change that to 2025. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Do I want to do that? I never even use that either. I'm going to take this out. Maybe I'll think about doing that. It's kind of a lot of work, but we'll see. So this is my reference section. And currently the way I have this planner set up is I keep 1 month at a time due to limitations of the size. So in order to be able to plan for future dates, I need to have what's called a future log. So you have a set like this that gives you all of the dates for the entire, all of the months of the entire year. And any events that are coming up, you can put down in the calendar. So for example, we're not in December yet. I don't have December planned, but I do have some dates in here for things that are coming up. And that's what you use it for. So for example, I can write down here, it's my husband's last day of work for winter. And then he's on winter holiday. This section only takes 3 sheets. And so it's very small real estate, doesn't take up a lot of room in your planner. And the only trouble that I ran into here is if I had multiple things on one date, you'd have to squish it in and then it gets squishy. So for somebody who has lots of appointments, I would not recommend this. If you use your planner as your business and your personal, say you are a nail tech working out of your home and you have lots of appointments ahead of schedule, you could use, what I would recommend is keeping all of the months. Say for example, you had January to December, I would just keep your schedule like this and then put in your appointments every day and put the time and then put the person's name. So that's what I would do. But for somebody who is a stay-at-home mom, or you have a separate business planner, this is ideal. This works great for me. But I mean, the alternate to that would be to keep like 12 months in your planner. And I do have the opportunity to do that for next year. So that's something that I could potentially think about. That's just something I'm going to have to think about. Okay, I'm just making kind of notes for myself. So then this was from Jane's agenda, and I honestly didn't really use this, but this is a good idea. So like, for example, and I can't remember if I got this from a sub box or if I got this if I purchased it. I think it came in a sub box. So, and I don't even know what it's called, so I'm sorry, but it would be like a task list. It might come up. I'm not sure if they actually put it in the shop or not, but you could make one up yourself too if you had to. So this would be a future log where you put like the events that are happening. So like, you have appointments or birthdays, stuff like that. But this would be for tasks that you want to complete in a certain month. So for example, if I wanted to reuse this, which I might, even though it has, like it's got the current month on the back for 2026, not the future log, but you could put, like in May, I want to go shopping for garden supplies, right? And I want to plant my garden. So I could put that down there and then you can cross it off as you go. So I might actually take this out because I realized I never even used it. I might use that for next year, redate everything. Okay, so one of the biggest things that I use in my system that keeps me organized, mind you, I am a YouTuber and I do a lot of content online. So in order to keep myself from talking, because I love going on tangents and talking about all kinds of things, I have what I call task cards. Now this isn't an original idea. I don't even remember. I don't know who came up with this. I started following Marsha from Buy Sell Plan when she planned at the very beginning, like when we were all getting into Franklin Planner, like really hard and heavy. She was using Classic at that point, and she had task cards, and I was like, what a great idea. And so now I use the same type of task cards because these suit me well. And I made one for my monthly, my weekly, and my today. I don't really reference the today as much, but the monthly and the weekly I do. The weekly is getting worn out because I've used it so much. So I am going to be making new ones for the new year. So that's another task I have to write down because I will be doing that. See, this is a good video to do because I can write down what I need to do for the new year. But what I do here is I simply write down my routine. So every time I go and do a weekly plan with me, I look at this card and these are the steps that I follow. So if you need to have cards like this, just evaluate kind of like the same idea where you're evaluating your life stage, your life categories, evaluate the steps that you take in your planning system and what works good for you. So for example, your step might just be to look at your monthly calendar and see what's going on for the week. So your first step would be ref, REF, calendar or monthly, right? Reference calendar, because you want to see what you have going on. Then maybe you want to add that to your weekly section. So then you say plan the week. And then you might want to add your priorities and your appointments to your dailies if you have daily section. So then you write that down. Also, if you have an inbox, remember to write down reference inbox. You don't want to forget. But these are reminders for me, like even daily. So if I plan daily, like when I do my plan miss, this is something that I would do. So I go to my business planner first. I check my stats. I check my money in my accounts, like for each of my affiliate accounts. Then I reference my master task, my business schedule, reference my monthly schedule, my weekly. I usually just always do weekly because I know I've already got my planner in such a good routine already that because I do my videos and I have weekly, monthly videos, I don't need to do this same thing. But then I reference the master task list. Like, oh, is there something on there that I can do today? Transfer tasks over every day that I don't finish and then create new tasks. So that's just something that, like I'm every day. So whether it's a monthly basis, a weekly basis, or a daily basis, I have a routine that I follow to make sure that I've checked off all my boxes and dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's. Okay. So another important thing for me, so this is something that I currently have been doing. I've been using this because I have the old Teresa Collins and Franklin Covey collab inserts, Beautiful Life. They stopped making these in 2024, but I was able to purchase an extra copy from 2024, and I have been redating them for the whole year of 2025. So this isn't necessary. I have all this information everywhere else, but again, it might be something that I change up in 2026. But for now, I'm going to continue doing it until December. And I put my goals and my high priority tasks, birthdays, and then my weekly priorities. Okay, and then of course you've got your monthly calendar. So I think it's very important if you are a planner, everybody's different, but in my opinion, in my planner, it's very important for me to have your monthly schedule, a weekly schedule, and my daily schedule. I never used to be a daily planner. Technically, I probably could get by with my monthly and my weekly, and then I could use like a brain dump book, like a notebook, or my daily pages or something, like my morning pages, for everyday stuff. I don't necessarily need the dailies, but since I've started using Franklin Day on 2-page, you guys, it has been a game changer in my productivity levels. So just not trying to promote, I'm promoting it, of course, because I'm an affiliate with Franklin Planner, but I'm not saying that you have to go out and buy it right now. That's not what I'm saying. But I do notice that it has been a game changer for me personally. So very important to try to capture all of the things that you have going on in a month in your monthly calendar. So when I go to set up a new month, I always go back to my future log and I reference all of the appointments that I have on there. And then I look at at that point I should have like all of the birthdays, all of the appointments, all of the things that I need to leave my house for, or maybe not leave my house for, but everything that I have going on. And then I write it down in here. I also, to keep myself sane, and it's part of like keeping my planner decorated so I don't get bored, I also decorate my monthly calendar. That's important to me because it keeps me coming back and interested in my planner. And I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. I just love looking at it. So then that makes me want to look at it more. So if you are not a decorative planner, just try to look past all that and just write down your important things. Some people color code. So for example, if you have kids, everything that's school related could be, blue or red. Everything that's like an appointment could be yellow, that kind of thing. So color code, and then you can write a little legend here on the side and say, okay, red is kids, yellow is appointments, green is like money, etc., etc. But it is the most important thing to write down your monthly tasks in your calendar. Okay, and that's like any planner system. Like I don't care what system you use, that's the most important thing. So now Franklin has what's called a master task list. I have a section for personal and business, and this is where some of my business stuff is integrated into this planner. Because like I said, this is a catch-all. So I do this to remind myself whenever I look at this, like, hey, this has to be done. Speaking of done, Jane's agenda is done. So you guys, I think I had mentioned, this is not part of this video, I think I mentioned it in my last weekly plan with me, but my Planner Perfect December box was going to be late. It might be close to being on time. I'm not holding my breath, but it might be close. So we'll see. Actually, there's quite a few things I can cross off. I'm so excited. Did the wall photos yesterday. I did the deep freeze with my husband yesterday. And yeah, there we go. Crossed off more things. Excellent. So the next section I have in my planner is my weekly. So now these inserts, again, they're different because they've got this weekly meal plan. So currently, this is going to be changing. If you guys watch my insert video for Franklin, I go through the new inserts I purchased for 2026. Exciting. And it doesn't have this meal section, but I'm moving this section to a different planner. So when we get to that planner, we'll talk about it. It's exciting too. So this will just be like an index. I won't have that section on there, but this is similar. So this is my way of being able to decorate. If you have a weekly, or maybe you don't have a weekly, maybe you just have a monthly and the daily, that's fine too. But this is a way for me to come look at my week at a glance. And I can say, okay, I'm busy here, 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 and here, and here. What can I do on another day? Like, can I put something on another day? Or again, reminders for appointments. I can put them here. This is my weekly master task list, which I love having. So yes, I have a monthly and then I've got a weekly. So everything that's on the weekly, I really want to try to get done in that week. And that kind of keeps my needle moving forward. So again, this is all interrelated with my goals. So that in order for me to progress on my goals every year, I need to get these things done. That's kind of the whole point of planning in the first place. So my basement is done. Yes. My wall kid photos are done. Deep freeze is done. And then today I have to do my son's shelf. But for the most part, this has been a very productive week. Oh, and actually this was old. So I don't even know why I crossed that off because it's old. That's fine. Yeah, okay. So anyway, so I put my appointments and my schedule stuff on my weekly, and then I just usually decorate the rest. But if you have room, I also do a review. Oh, that's something we'll talk about after. So if you have room, like if you need more room, like maybe you have a packing list, you can use this section for a packing list. You don't have to decorate it, or you can just leave it blank. You don't have to decorate it at all. But I like to decorate it. So I'll just look at the next couple of weeks here. You can see sometimes my list on the week is bigger, sometimes it's not. And again, like I have Cocoa Daisy to decorate my weekly planner, but I mean, maybe you don't have anything and that's okay. I also have to redate all of mine because again, mine was old. It was from 2024, but I won't have to necessarily do that next year because I finally got inserts that are properly dated. So that's good. Okay, so another thing that we have to talk about are reviews. So I'm a firm believer. Technically, I don't really do a dedicated daily review, although I have read books that say that there are benefits to it. I just realized I don't have time. My old way of doing a daily review was writing in my journal at nighttime, and I don't do that anymore. I kind of wish I have time to bring that back, but at nighttime I usually just want to relax, or I have a bath, or I'm just done with work, so I'm just done writing all day. But I might bring that back for 2026. I stopped writing in my journal because I was getting tired. It just seemed so repetitive, and that's simply because I started doing morning pages. I think I started doing morning pages June 2nd of this year. And I do 3 pages of stream of consciousness writing every morning. But I think I feel like I want to bring back my nightly journal. So I want to start setting up an actual routine, like a habit for nighttime. And that could be reading a little bit, but I also want to bring back my writing on my journal and just kind of doing a recap of the day, even if it's just 1 page. And I think it's going to help process and kind of make the day feel like I'm wrapping it up. So I want to do that during the day, but this is a weekly process. So for my weekly notes, I do a weekly review, and the topics that I write here are from Jane's Agenda Masterclass from last year. Accomplishments, what went well that week? What accomplishments did you come across? What were the challenges? Technically, with challenges, you're supposed to write how you overcame them as well, but sometimes I don't always overcome them. Like running out of energy, getting enough sleep. I don't overcome that because I never seem to get enough sleep. And then the last section is next week's focus. And then so you kind of do like, this is what we're doing next week. These are the things I need to do to prep for that. Okay, so I think it's very important that you've got your reviews. A yearly review. This is kind of my yearly review when I talk about stuff like this with you guys on all of these videos. I review all of my planners. This is my yearly review. What worked, what didn't work kind of thing. And I think it's important to do a quarterly review. So I do that in my goal section. I think I showed you that. So at the end of each quarter, I've got my quarterly review. I should have one for every quarter up to the 3rd. Oh my good gosh, I did not do a quarter 3. So I might have to come back and do that. I did not even realize. I thought maybe, but I wasn't sure. Okay, so I'm going to come back for that. It's calling the kettle black. I can't do that. So again, very important to do a weekly review. Daily review would be something as simple as writing in your journal. Okay, so these are the weeklies. I do find it very helpful to have weeklies, but also I film my weekly videos with you guys, and that's part of the process, and I enjoy that immensely. So I continue this, but I guess it's not absolutely necessary. I really do enjoy having this because it helps to organize me and it keeps me efficient and productive and motivated throughout my day. Like, I mean, as a planner babe, who doesn't love coming back into your planner and checking things off? It kind of gives you that boost of feel good hormone, and you're like, yes, I've checked it off. Let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so then we get to the dailies. Again, the decorations. So again, I just keep the 1 month. I've got 1 day in there or 2 days in there because that was just what happened. This is my monthly review because I didn't have room on the other page. But I start off, let's look at today's date, for example, or maybe one with some notes on it. Let's see. Okay, maybe this day. So I use my prioritized daily task list. You'll notice that I don't necessarily use like the ABC 1, 2, 3 system. And I should start. And I kept talking about it and saying that, yes, I'm going to do that. And sometimes I do. If I have a super busy day and I don't know what needs to be done first, I will use that system, like especially if there's a lot. And I might start doing that in December because I do have a lot of material coming up that I'll be working on. But generally, I know what needs to be done the morning of. So for example, this morning, I knew I had to film this video first thing. Generally, if I wake up in the morning, I always have to film first because my kids, once they're awake, it is extremely difficult to film videos. I lose focus. They're busy talking in the background. I've got lots of videos on my channel where my kids are in the background. And when my baby was crying one time, like somebody had complained about it, and I was like, well, I understand. I absolutely do. Because when I watch videos, it's nice to just listen to the person and not have that background noise, especially like if there's crumpling in the background, it's hard to hear. So I understand. In that point of time, I had no choice because I had to have my baby beside me, and he just woke up and I was really frustrated. And, it's a whole life thing. It really is. But now we're past that and they sleep. Thank goodness. Thank goodness my kids sleep. And then I do my morning pages and then I continue on. And I have interruptions throughout the day. So, like, I take my kids to school and then I come back and just continue working as much as I can. Like today, I have an appointment, I have to go to the dentist. So, I just continue working on my work as much as I can. But I generally know what needs to be done. And I am getting better with kind of being more mindful of what I'm writing down. So, for example, like I've got two ways that I think, and I'm kind of like stuck between them. So number one is this space is meant to be used. So I write down absolutely everything that I need to do. Everything. I'm going to try to find an example here. So everything that I need to do, like this is a pretty big list here. So everything that I need to do in the day, and stuff that I'm working on will have a dot. And then stuff that didn't get worked on at all has to be moved over with an arrow. So my first idea here is that, okay, let's just write everything down so I have an idea of what needs to be done. And then, because like a lot of this stuff is pulled from my monthly and my weekly, but at the same time, some of it is stuff that I just come up with that day and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I need to do this. And that one thing won't be on the monthly or the weekly. It'll just be something I thought of. So I'll write it down in my dailies. And if I get to it, great, it's done. I don't have to think about it anymore. And if I need follow up, I'll write it down on my notes, or I'll write it down on the day I need to follow up with it, or in my inbox. But if it's something that I have to work on still and I just haven't got to it yet, I'll put an arrow, and that means I need to move it to the next day. So when I go to plan, like if it's not plan miss, I always plan the night before. And so last night I wrote down all of the things I had to do specifically today, and then I carried over all of the things that had arrows beside them. So like edit my shadow videos, my makeup videos, I wrote them down here. And so hopefully I get them done today. And if not, I'll move them to the next day. And so that's my first train of thought. My second train of thought is, you know what, Sandra, be mindful of what you're of how much time you actually have in a day, because I think we all have this, um, not problem, but I think we all have this tendency to think that we can get more done in a day than we actually can. So we think that a task is going to take a shorter time than it actually will. And a way to compensate for that and to fix that is to write out, like, to literally track your time for a whole week. It's such a pain. I had to do it in the Jane's Agenda Masterclass last year, and I hate doing it. I honestly do. So, like, basically for 1 week, you start like Monday to Sunday. You go through and, like, anything that you do, you write down the task that you're doing, and you can write it down just a notebook, and you write down the time that it took. So say you start, you're like, okay, I got up at 8 and I had a shower, and you're like 8 to 8:15, and then I drive myself off from like 8:15 to 8:20. So literally it's such a pain because you might forget the times, you might just be like estimating, but you do it for an entire week, and then you kind of go and you say, okay, personal care, and you add up all of the time that it took you. And then, like, that's like realistically how much time, when you can do it per day. So realistically, okay, I allocate like 3 hours of time for personal care. So that could be reading, having a shower, having a bath, um, even something simple as shaving or taking care of your nails or something, right? Like everything like that, you track how much time it takes. And so in the end, people always find that, wow, like we seem to think that tasks take a lot shorter than they actually do. And so we put, which in turn makes us add more tasks to our list every day, because we're thinking, oh, we can get that done easy. That's going to take 5 minutes. But actually, it takes you half an hour. That's one of my goals too, is to be mindful of what I'm putting on my list on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to see, okay, can this actually get done in the time frame that I'm allocating? So that's a good question to ask yourself, because a lot of times the answer is no. Okay, so now that we're kind of through this section, this is my scheduled section. Another important thing that I do in my system is I don't really know the word for it, but when we're ready to move on to a new section, you do your reviews and you review the month, and you're like, okay, that looks good. I'm done. You've done your review. I usually do my monthly review on the last page of the month here on the notes. Then you retire your monthly and you put it away. Or if you kept all of your monthlies in your binder, just put that current month behind, and then now you're in your new month. Another thing that I forgot to talk about was the notes section. So in my system, I absolutely use the prioritized daily task list. I sometimes use the appointment schedule. Sometimes I forget to put stuff on it. So like here, well, this was Saturday, so I didn't have anything going on, but I generally use it for like writing out like when I've got to do things. Like I had parent-teacher interviews here. So generally I do stuff like that. But anyway, this section down here, I don't usually use a daily tracker. So my 2026 inserts, they don't have that, and I don't really use that. But you can write emails that you get, voicemails for follow-up expenses, doesn't matter. Write anything there that you need to. If you have these inserts, these are the Quera from Franklin Covey, the N2 page. And then the daily notes. So again, I don't use a daily note section every single day, but you can use this section for phone calls or for information that you get during the day. And it's nice because it's on a particular day. So if you have to follow up with it, you simply go, like you can use the date of your insert as a page number. So you write down like follow up, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, I need to follow up on the 20th. So you write a note, like refer to the 17th. And then you come to the 17th and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I need to remember. So that's kind of how it's supposed to be used. I want to use it like that. Like that's my general goal, to use it like that, but I haven't yet really. I do, like sometimes I'll, if my list is like exceeding this area, which it could very well be in 2026 because I've got a smaller area for tasks, I might write my tasks on the daily notes page. It can be reminders. It can be like, for me, like when I'm not doing Plan Miss, the night before I'll plan my day out, and then sometimes like I'll put notes here like, oh yeah, remember to do this, remember to do that. Or like I'll be on like today, today is here, the 24th, and I'll be like, oh yeah, the 30th, I have to go here, and I have to remember to write it all out. So instead of writing it down here, I'll just write it on the notes page, like of tasks I want to remind myself to do, and then I'll cross them off from here, or sometimes I'll just add them to the list. Just depends what it is. But yeah, so I really have been trying to incorporate the daily note section more because it's invaluable, and I love having that. Also, let's talk about this. This cardboard, personally, like technically, is called a progressive task list, and so it's like meant to be like, okay, you have a task, cross it off. Have a task, cross it off until it's filled up, and then you throw it away and get a new one. But I use mine as a compass card, so it's the same. I use it the same way as these things here. So weekly compass card, you've got your role, sharpen the saw, which is for you. So your physical, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And then you've got roles or values. So you write down, like, say, role of mother. It's important. My big rocks for this week are cutting my kids' hair or doing parent teacher interviews. Like, that's the most important thing I can do for my kids this week, or spending half an hour with them every day after school. Like, that's kind of how you want to use that section. And so I do a similar thing, but I add tasks here that are my goals, but they're just broken down into smaller tasks, like my videos, the dentist, my nephew's party, that kind of thing. So I use it, and I like this for me personally. Sometimes I'll be on a compass card kick, but I like this because I can decorate it. And again, I like bringing in that decoration factor. Okay, so now for the rest of my tabs, I'm just going to go through and talk about my tabs quick. So for the side ones, I have goals, schedule, home, admin, which is reference, personal, and projects notes. The top, I have brain dump, a monthly, weekly, daily, and then I don't have any on the bottom. So now in this entire section, I think I can go through the home stuff with you guys. But remember when we looked at the life categories, this is where you would have your home stuff. So I have an annual habit tracker. So this is kind of like, I got these from Jane's Agenda, but you can use any regular tracker and just make it an annual tracker if you were to put the months at the top. I might reuse this because obviously I haven't even touched it, but I'm going to pull this out actually and reuse it for next year. This is really helpful because these are the things on here that you want to write, like, when did I last, right? This is kind of what that sheet would replace. So stuff like, even changing your toothbrush, like, who remembers, right? I guess, personally with my toothbrush, I'm just like, okay, it's looking a little grody, let's get a new one. But like cleaning furnace filter. So that might be a quarterly thing, not a monthly thing. Checking smoke alarms, you should probably do that monthly. So I should check those off, or checking CO alarms, house clean and tidy, like just things that you want to check off every month. And this is really good. Or if it's an annual thing, you might only do it in December, like, setting up a Christmas tree. So I think that's important to have. Lists and regular paper come very handy in here. Just so you know, like, it's nice to have these types of lists. So this is like things that we need for the house. So I like having those types of lists. This is from Fancy Plants Co. And then just yesterday, my husband and I did a freezer inventory. So again, I just took a plain piece of paper and just write down like the categories, and we write down exactly what we have in the deep freeze. So I like having that. It's kind of a reference section, but it's to do with my home, right? So everything to do with my house, cleaning. So I've got a wine list. These are the favorite wines that I really like, and I've rated them like A, B, C, or D. And then I've also got non-food items. So if I'm looking to write my grocery list, I can come here and be like, oh yeah, like, thinking about it, the last time I did laundry, I've got half a thing of laundry detergent left. I probably should think about getting a new one soon. I do find it difficult sometimes because we shop at Costco. So every week we get a few different things, and then the alternate week will run out of whatever, A, B, and C. So we'll get those, and then the week after we have to get other stuff. So that's something that I like having this list for. Same thing with personal and household items. This can be changed because I no longer get some of these things here. I can update that. Okay, I've also got a meal plan. This is a sheet from Cultivate What Matters, but you can use, again, any sheet of paper. These are just things that my kids like to eat. And if I find new recipes, I'll just add them to here. I've also got an organizing master task list. So this is like a quad insert. You can get those from any company, but Jane's Agenda does offer these. And you can even make your own. It's pretty simple. Just get like a lined sheet of paper and then draw like a T, right? Or like an X or like a cross, and just label it accordingly. It's really easy and simple to do. So I put sections of my house. So I've got my kitchen, living room, front entrance, etc. And then I write the things that I would organize under each of those. And this is invaluable. This is really nice to have because every time I go to clean my house, I can look at these. Like when I want to do, my whole goal is to do like a rotating organizing thing every, like throughout the year. And so ideally at the end of the year, my entire house would be organized. But like if you're like me and you have kids, it's like it's hard because you have to do the pantry every couple of weeks or months because kids just go in and reach and grab and then they forget to take out the boxes or they pull things down and it's all messy. So this is perfect for me. So like for example, like I don't have pantry on here. Why don't I have pantry? That's weird. I should have pantry. Everywhere that needs to have like a nice clean out every now and then. So even the fridge. So this is an area that I might want to update too. But yeah, going through all of my my things in my desk area or the TV room, like the kids' toy organizer. Okay, so for example, all of those sections of my house. And then I also have, I think this is redundant. I don't think I need this, but I wrote it out for some reason. It's tidy organizing projects. So again, all of these things should be here. So what I might do is just go through and be like, okay, do I have pantry on under kitchen? And I just wrote it now. So I might just do that and get rid of this page. Thanksgiving meal ideas. So again, this was something new. I wanted to add this for this year because I just got like watching YouTube videos and stuff. I wrote that down and that's all I have under home. Now admin section, I can't actually show you the majority of that because a lot of it is confidential information. But one thing I can show you. So if you guys and your Franklin users, that's why you're watching this video, I'm hoping. And I mean, it's good for everybody else who isn't a Franklin planner because you can use all of these tips and tricks in your own planning system. But for my, like, if you're like me and you order multiple planners from Franklin, so like a couple of years before, I would get, like, I wasn't happy with just one monthly or one weekly. No, usually it was the daily. So I would usually get like the Carrera, and then I would get like a colored one, like her point of view, or I would get leadership and Carrera or something like that. So I'd always have, and I would switch them out depending on what binder I used. And yes, it seems wasteful in a lot of ways it was. So last year, and this year, I'm not doing that. I've got my her point of view and I've got my Modern Grace weeklies, and that's it. But with those, you still get 2 monthly calendars. So here's an idea if it's feasible for you and you have those. I basically got like this set of monthlies from my Sandstone inserts and I put them in my reference section because it's a good, like, and actually you could keep your future log in your reference section. That's just another thought I had. Because technically you're referencing it, right? So it doesn't have to be at the beginning of schedule. I keep mine at schedule because it makes sense. It's like part of my schedule, but it could also be a reference section item. So Jane's Agenda had come out with these inserts. She had them in a box one year or 1 month. I can't remember what month they came in. It was sometime this year, maybe January. I don't remember. But anyway, she now has them available for sale as a PDF file that you can print yourself. They're fairly cheap. I think they're $7. And you can print them And I'm pretty sure if you mess around on your printer, you can print them any size you need to. And it's super easy. That's why I have a half letter classic size Franklin, because I just print them half letter. I print 2 to a page and it's so easy. So what I'll do is like print them all on one side and then turn them around, flip them in my printer, and then do the other side. It's usually what I do. But that's what I'm going to do this year is I'll have these available to print. And it's going to be invaluable because they're a reference section insert, which is really, really nice. And you can color code them, like if you wanted to do like little tabs on the side even, and have like anything that goes from like A to B, C to D, etc. Right? You could do that. Something that I was thinking about, because right now mine's just kind of all over the place. But I think these, like how I do it, and this is another idea for like my system. This is what I do. So when you are going to put away your planner, so say you only keep a month in your planner like I do, or you want to retire, that's what it's called, retiring your current month and organizing it, putting it away. I need to make sure that there's no important information in that month. So what I'll do is I'll go through like the monthly and I'll check here. Is there anything that I want to keep moving forward? Because once this is gone, I put it downstairs, it's gone. Technically, I actually put it in my, it's not downstairs, it's just in my storage binder, but, and like I have access to it, but in case I was traveling, for example, and there was something I needed to know, like a phone number, I want to make sure I have it in my reference section. So then I'll check here, and then I'll go through my weekly and I'll go through my daily. Now, anything on my daily, so for example, I'll look at each page and I'll kind of glance through, like, is there anything that I need to keep that might come in handy for next month? Or like I'll go through all of this stuff, right? And if there's nothing, I leave it. And if there's something, I come to my reference section, go to those pages, write the month and say, okay, we're looking at November 2025. These are the notes that I need to keep as a reference. So I have it in my planner at all times. But remember how I told you that this is the biggest section in my planner to date. My goal here is to slim this section down because I want to minimize how much I have in here. I don't need to have all of this in here. At the same time, some people keep a reference planner separate from their main planner. The only problem I run into there is, what if you need some notes or something and you're traveling or you're not at home, like if you're at the doctor's and you're like, oh no, I forgot that reference thing and it's at home, then what? So that's why I've been keeping everything in here, but I'm going to go through with a fine tooth comb. Even if I have to rewrite something at some point, I'm going to do that because it is driving me crazy. And I want to have a dedicated space. So I'm going to make a new sticker instead of admin because this is confusing. And I'm going to write reference. And if I were to get rid of some of the things in this section, it might actually be helpful for me to have bottom tabs again. I wouldn't mind having like a separate, a section for my kids and just have like kids, personal, reference, and then have it down at the bottom instead of on the side, because I don't know what else I'd put on the side if I had it on the bottom, but I'm sure I'd think of something. But you get 4, so I would do like personal, kids, reference, and then maybe books. I don't know yet, but I mean, I think it's important to organize it according to how you need. Okay, so we're going to skip over the majority of that section because it's a lot of personal stuff in there. Now, the personal section, I don't think this is completely personal, but I can't share it. So I have stuff in here like my routines, my AM skincare, PM skincare, weekly homework routine, day themes, batching, morning routine, evening routine. So again, these change with the season. This is when did I last? So these things could be moved to month, like the annual habits. So I don't know why I don't have it there, but I don't. So I should change that there. I've got waiting on orders. So that's something that I want to keep in there. I've also got things to save for. So that's kind of like, again, something like that should be in my budget planner under the goal section. So I might reevaluate that. I've got a planner perfect wish list in here. Sephora wish list, perfumes I want, which is completely unnecessary. Christmas list ideas, again, unnecessary because I have a Christmas planner that I use for my Planner Perfect system right here. But everything I want Christmas will go in here. So a lot of this stuff is really ambiguous and unnecessary. And I've got my whole book section, so I do want to keep that because it's all the books that I talk about. Stickers I need from these companies, but I don't technically need them, so I can get rid of that. Disaster movies to watch, scary movies to watch, TV show ideas, personal, which again should go under personal. And then I've got like a whole section for my kids. So right now I keep it all under personal, but I have it paper clipped off. And you know what? This paperclip system is getting kind of annoying. So I might think about getting the bottom tabs back. Okay, and then under projects notes, this section is honestly not used a whole lot, to be quite honest with you guys. So I very well could move this section to goals and keep project planning under there because I don't have much in here. I honestly don't. And I have this little thing here from Jane's Agenda. It's called Notes and Things. And it's like a little thing that sits and it's just a little tab, a bottom tab here. I don't know how this happened, but I actually cracked. Wow. Anyway, it's like a little section where I keep note paper. And to be honest, let's see. I've got a lot of note paper in here that I haven't even used. And I don't know why there's so much. And that's probably taking up a big section of my planner as well. So I don't know. I don't know why I do the things I do, you guys. Sometimes I'm like, why do I do this? Okay, so getting back to projects notes, I have these project planning sheets in here that I haven't really used. My basement, I've finished my basement, so I could get rid of that. And getting things done or organizing project notes. So these are things that if you haven't read the book Getting Things Done, I highly recommend that too. It really helps you get things done, or at least it gives you like the want or the need or the motivation to want to get things done. It's kind of interesting. I've got some random note paper in the back, and then this is essential. So this is a page lifter. It doesn't have to be clear. It can be the black one too, but it prevents your paper from getting bent at the rings. And that's why I like keeping that at the back. I don't keep one at the front because I put my decorating dashboards in there, but you could keep one at the front too, if you wanted to. And then sometimes I use this little back section to keep important documents. So each of the planners is different. This Torino binder is very simple, so I don't have a lot of room, but like the Vintage Aurora has lots of room. And then I've also, like, I have this little folder. This is like my catch-all folder, and I have to go through this too. I got this from the Coffee Monster Co., and it's kind of invaluable. I kind of love it. Oh, problems. And I've been keeping it at the back here, so any like paperwork that I get, because again, this binder doesn't have a lot of room. Look at all this paper dust here. I've been keeping all of my stuff in here that I want to keep. So like random, like I've got all of these notes in here, so I gotta go through here. So I think one of the bigger things too, just kind of like going through my own planner, is that I think it's important to go through your planner at least once a month. And that might become one of my new routines, is monthly, just kind of a monthly review. So you guys know how when I do my monthly, I do a monthly binder switch, but I don't go through the different sections of my planner. Generally, when I pick tabs for my planner, unless things are getting really busy, like for example, in summer, when my kids are done school, I don't need the school stuff anymore. So it wouldn't make sense for me to make a whole school tab again. I don't want that. I like how I've integrated everything into the monthly and the weekly and the daily, but I do kind of want a kids section at the bottom of my planner so that I have a small section where I don't have to be like, oh, right, are they in reference? Are they in personal? And then try to look for this little tab here, because like that's where they are. But I want to have like an actual tab that says like kids, right? And I would like to have my reading one back too, because then I can cross off my books. But then again, maybe I want to have my reading section strictly in a different book. We'll talk more about that when we get into my other systems. But I think that kind of wraps up this video. I think it does. If you guys have any questions, if there's any comments you want to add, or if there's anything that I've missed that you want me to discuss, let me know in this video, and I will be sure to address all of your questions and comments. I think I've got everything. but just kind of talking about my system, I realized like I'm glad that we did this because there's a lot of things that I need to also go through. And speaking of, maybe I put it in here. There was a Jane's Agenda printout that I had. Did I put it in here? I did. Okay. So this is from Jane's Agenda, and I think it was a freebie. So if you go to the website, there's actually like this freebie that you can look at right here. Okay, look at this. Look, look, look. This is perfect about how we're talking about this right now, especially setting up for the new year. So there's 2 sheets and they're free. Jane's Agenda, and there's freebies, and you just print it. It's a PDF. So the first one is called the Monthly Planner Reset Checklist. So these are all the things that you want to do monthly. So you've got reflect and archive. Archive is the word I was looking for. So I archive my previous month. Okay, so archive the pages for reference later. Migrate important information. So anything that you need to continue keeping in your new setup for the new month. Setting up a new month. Review and adjust and additional resources. Okay, and then the next sheet is 25 steps to declutter your planner. So I love this sheet, and this is what I'm going to go through when I look at some of these things here. So like gather everything. It gives you every single step. Like start with a clean slate. Remove everything from your planner to assess each item individually. Like how important is that? Like that is so important, and it just really helps you figure out what's really important in your planner, what you really need to keep, and what you can get rid of. And so I'm going to go through all of these things, like identify outdated pages, like that's no longer relevant. I have quite a few of those, so I'm going to go through and do that before the new year. Very excited for this, actually. Like even here, plan for spare pages and sections. So that's where I have a notes page or a project page, right? And then you just kind of look to see like where you need to declutter it. And it says to commit to staying decluttered. So I think if you do this on a monthly basis, I think you're going to be fine. Or more specifically, a yearly, because like that's kind of what I would do. Like I kind of accumulated all of these papers and stuff from just this year alone. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing for moving forward into January. And I think that's very exciting. And that I think a lot of that won't be on camera because most of that is going to be in my home, admin, and personal section. And those are things I can't really share. But when I do go out to set up my January planner and talk about my new system that I've created, I'll talk about that, and I'll reference some of the things we've talked about in this video. So like whether I've added new bottom tabs, whether I've created new sections, and then what I've taken out of admin and home and personal and just kind of switched around because I do need to go through that stuff. So I hope that that answers a lot of your guys' questions. I hope that this is kind of like the systems video that you wanted to see. If so, let me know. And if not, again, let me know. I'll be happy to answer any of the questions you have for me down below. Without further ado, thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for watching today's video. I will have a lot of videos coming up for December, and I don't want to overwhelm anybody. I'm already overwhelmed thinking about it myself. But I hope you enjoy the content that I provide. And again, let me know your thoughts. I love feedback and I love hearing from you guys. I like chatting and talking about what will work for you, what works, what doesn't. And I like to take some of those ideas and incorporate them into my system. And I hope you do the same with yours. So thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support every day that you watch, share, like, comment, whatever, purchase from my links. That's really, really nice that you guys do that and you support me in that way because every little bit counts. So also just keep in mind, I do have affiliate links down below and I believe that they're all up and running. So take a look down there. If there's things that you're interested in purchasing, you can go ahead and use my links. I'm an affiliate with Jane's Agenda, Cultivate What Matters, Franklin, Planner, and Planner Perfect. And there's more, but those are like the main ones. Those are the important ones. So please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you're new, I would love if you would consider subscribing. Click on the bell button to receive notifications when I upload new content. And I will see you guys with the next video, which I believe is my business systems planner or my business planner system. So thank you guys again, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.